Hi, good afternoon, and we're back with the NAACP update, and we have as a special guest today, Miss Brianna. Want to introduce yourself?
My name is Brianna Wooten. I'm with Montgomery County Environmental Services. I'm our communications person. We do water, sewer, trash, and recycling services in Montgomery County, Ohio.
Great. Well, today I know a lot of you out there are thinking about water, and you think about your water bill and issues with the sewer systems that are always seem to be torn up here in Dayton. And where does that all come from? And got a few questions from Miss Brianna, and she's going to tell us about it. Where does the water come from that comes out of my faucet? Where do we get it?
Well, our source water in the Miami Valley region is the Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer. It is an aquifer that holds about 1.3 trillion, actually I think it's 1.6 trillion gallons of water is the estimated capacity of the aquifer. It's a very high quality source water, but it is protected by a thin layer of clay at times. So it is considered high risk. That's why we have a source water protection program in place that was championed by the city of Dayton and recognized by the EPA as a benchmark protection program for a source water. So it keeps businesses from having dangerous chemicals over certain areas that could influence the aquifer. It requires them to provide chemical inventories as part of the program. It requires land zoning to keep the aquifer safe. So that's where all of our water comes from. It provides the water for about 1.5 million people. And it's a great source water. In fact, I believe that it's one of the only contaminants in some areas of the aquifer is arsenic. Otherwise, it's practically safe to drink when you pump it. It's very good quality water.
Okay, so the water doesn't come like out of the ground, say like the rivers or anything like that.
No, it is a groundwater source. So it's beneath the ground. It's an aquifer, which is it's a buried source of water with sand and gravel, and it's pumped out using several wells. I think we have I think it's 110 production wells that the city of Dayton maintains and manages. They pump the water out and then they treat it at their drinking water treatment plants, and then we distribute it to our customers. So we're a distribution system. We buy water from the city of Dayton and distribute it to our customers. And so everybody really has the same water around here, whether you're City of Dayton water customer or a Montgomery County water customer. We all get our water from the aquifer beneath the ground, and the City of Dayton treats it for us. They do a fantastic job too.
It's like you're a gas station. You get the gas brought in, and
we get the water brought in. Yeah, it comes through the pipe. So
okay.
They pump it from the wells. It gets treated through several stages of treatment. It gets filtered. It gets chlorinated to prevent bacteria growth in the lines, things like that. It gets fluoridated to add fluoride, which is for dental health and decay prevention. And then it gets distributed through pipes to your home. So if you see a water tower, the reason we have those is because the gravity helps create water pressure to our service areas. In places like Colorado, where they're very hilly or mountainous, they don't often need water towers because the gravity from the elevation is enough to provide water pressure to their system, but we need water towers around here. That's why you see them all over the place.
Never thought about that, why they're there.
Yeah.
Just to hold water.
Well, it does help for peak demand. So we'll actually pump them full around 3 p.m. before people get off work. And then when everybody comes home and wants to take their showers or their baths or do their cooking and do their wash, that's when that really high demand peaks. So there's a peak in the morning when everybody's taking their showers, getting ready for work, and then there's a peak in the evening when people come home. And we pump more water into the towers during that time to accommodate people.
Okay. I noticed you said the Montgomery County and the City of Dayton get their water from the same place. What's the difference between the two? I thought it all came from one place.
Well, the city pumps and treats the drinking water in their well field. They have a well field. We do not have a well field. So they are in charge of treating the drinking water to make sure that it is safe for human consumption. So they remove bacteria, contaminants through several different processes of filtration. And then, like I said, they add the chlorine that will be in the lines, and they add the fluoride. and then we buy water from the city of Dayton and we distribute it to our customers. So it's all from the same source, but we're a distribution system. We just distribute it to our customers, and the city of Dayton treats it for us and for their customers. Now, we do some testing. So as a distribution system, we have over 100 sampling stations throughout our system, and our environmental laboratory will sample from those sampling stations to make sure that the water has the appropriate amount of chlorine in it, that there's no contamination, that there's no heavy metals, anything like that. So we do that kind of testing. We test for lead and copper as well every couple years. So we make sure that the distribution system is safe as well.
Okay. Another question that came up while I was discussing with my family is if we suspect that there's something wrong with our water, would you first assume it might be the pipes or whatever before you go out further testing?
Well, it depends on the type of issue you're having. So one of the most common complaints people will have about water from tap water is typically whether it could be discoloration, odor, or taste. So if you have a taste issue, like sometimes, say for instance, you're very close to the treatment plant, right? So your water is the freshest in the system. There's a certain amount of chlorine that is added to the water before it goes out into the system to ensure that it's chlorinated throughout the system, and it fades as it goes further away from the treatment plant. So if you're very close to the treatment plant, you might have a higher level of chlorine in your water than somebody who's at the end of, say, like a dead-end street where the water line ends. In that case, you might have a bit of a chlorine taste to your water. It might be slightly not to your taste. And if that's the case, what someone can do is they can put their water in a pitcher and actually let it sit out on the counter for a minute. Say you fill a water pitcher with tap water, and the chlorine will actually evaporate out of the water, so the taste will go away. So if it's a simple, you can do some kind of things like simple fixes like that. And the reason I suggest that is that some people who might drink bottled water or filter their water, those systems are often not necessary and expensive, right? Tap water is perfectly safe in Montgomery County. We have very high quality tap water. It meets and exceeds all state and federal standards for drinking water quality. So there's no reason somebody should have to additionally filter their water or buy bottled water. It can be much more expensive for families. So if you just have an issue with the chlorine taste of your water, or you think you taste chlorine, just try putting it in a pitcher and let it evaporate. That'll take care of that. If it's a color issue, like say there's a little discoloration in your water, whether it's a yellow or brown, that's typically from when the pipes are disturbed. Like say you have a water main break somewhere nearby, there's some buildup that can build up in the pipes, and that discoloration will typically go away within 1 or 2 days. If you have a more serious concern where you think that your water has a strange odor, or it just doesn't taste right, or you've noticed something that's happened over time and it's continuous, it's going on for a long time, we have a water quality person who can come out to your house, check the water lines, check your water, see what's going on, and try and evaluate the situation and see what the problem is. And people can call us at any time to report water quality concerns at 937-781-2688. That's our dispatch line.
Okay, is there a cost in that?
Nope, it's free. We want to make sure that our product quality is great for everybody.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. Somebody gives away something for free.
Well, we're a public service. We do charge people for water, but it's to cover our cost. It's not to make a profit. You know, it is a public service, and that's how we look at it.
Okay, when you mention your service, the service you give or your water goes to the outlying areas outside the city?
Yes, outside the immediate city boundaries. So the city of Dayton provides, of course, water to the city of Dayton customers, and most of the neighborhoods outside the city of Dayton are Montgomery County water customers. Now, there are, of course, other smaller, some municipal systems, and then like Jefferson Township Water Authority is another water provider in our area. Now, they all typically have the same source water from the aquifer, but we serve a large majority of the customers in Montgomery County, Ohio. I think we have 80,000 customer accounts. That includes businesses and residential, and that's about 250,000 people.
That's interesting. Do they all charge the same?
No, they're different. Yeah, the city of Oakwood actually puts out an annual survey of water and sewer rates in the area. Montgomery County is typically somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say you do the testing and things will test water.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly type of testing is it, or could it be?
Well, we run about 11,000 tests per year on our water system from, like I said, those 100 sampling stations. Every few years, this is probably going to change because of some of the lead concerns in Flint, Michigan. But for the past, we are what's considered a low-risk system because we haven't had a lead or copper issue. So the EPA allows us to test every 3 years for lead and copper in our system, and every year that we have done that, we have not had a problem or exceeded the limit. But we also test for things like bacteria that we test for very frequently to make sure there's no bacteria in the system, that it's safe to drink. We test for things like chlorine production byproducts, which is when you add chlorine to water, sometimes it creates byproducts that can be harmful if they're in excess. So we monitor those as well to make sure that they're safe. And we just do that kind of testing throughout the year. And that's done at our environmental laboratory. And that lab also offers private testing for people who might be on wells. So, or might, if you think you have an issue with your water, even if you're on public system, you can always request free test, testing. It's a small cost. I believe that our lead test is about, I think it's less than $20. And then we have other tests as well, like bacteria, which is about $25 to $35, depending on the type of test you want to do, things like that. And well owners who own a private well should consider testing their water at least annually for a couple of different parameters, but especially bacteria.
I've got this for one thing issue. I was told at one time that if your water has that kind of like a rotten egg smell, that it's because of the minerals in the system or in the water.
Well, that would be sulfur, and I'm not sure what would be causing that. I'm not our laboratory expert,
Right.
Unfortunately, but like I said, if you do have any kind of issue like that, especially with an odor or a smell like that, we don't really want that in our system, right? We want all of our customers to be able to drink their water from the tap without any problem and to feel safe about it. And so people can call at any time to our dispatch line to report a problem. Our water quality person will go out and actually look at your house to make sure things are okay. Sometimes what can happen too is water, if you're like at the end of a dead-end street and the water line ends there, you might not have the right level of chlorine, or your water might not be flushing frequently enough, and they'll go down there and just turn the hydrants on, and then they'll actually put you on a flushing schedule. They'll go down to your street like every month or something like that, every week, depending on how much they think it needs it, and they'll flush the lines for you to make sure you're getting good quality water. So, you know, they really will go out there and make sure that things are okay. What I will say, though, is that sometimes the problem might exist in somebody's private plumbing system, right?
Okay.
So I had a woman one time call me. She was getting these little beads in her water that looked like plastic almost. And I was like, well, I know that's not something we're putting in the system, so I think that's probably private plumbing. Let me get my guy out there to look at it for you. And he determined it was probably her water softener had gone bad and had started putting that into her water system. But a lot of times the problem is with private plumbing, and we unfortunately cannot help financially with that, but we can sometimes, if we go out there, we might be able to tell you what might be the problem.
Okay.
Or you might have to hire a plumber.
Might have to hire a
Might have to hire a plumber.
Joe the plumber.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you guys have your water plant and you're testing things like that, is it open access? Can anybody come and see how you do things?
Well, they are secure sites, so we don't want anybody to be able to just come in to our water source or our system, you know what I mean? It would be a security issue. And also a safety issue, right? There's equipment around there that people should not be messing with, that they could hurt themselves or others. We do have scheduled tours, though, so
Okay.
if you ever wanted to come see the plant, it's certainly open to the public if people would like to come tour it. We do tours of our wastewater treatment plant, and I know that the City of Dayton does tours of their drinking water plant, and we also do tours of our environmental laboratory. That can be really fun for somebody who's at a STEM school, maybe, right? They can come see the lab and see the technicians, see a career in science. That's really cool, and is a very good public service. Some people are really attracted to that. And then the wastewater plant is always very, very interesting for people, right? Because people don't think about what happens when they flush it. If anybody ever wants to ask me questions, it's always about the drinking water. It's never about the, what goes down the toilet.
Right.
And so, but that's sometimes much more fascinating. So we'll get schools will come in, Boy and Girl Scout troops will come in. Sometimes we get people who do homeschooling will bring their families, and they'll come out and tour the plant and see what happens and how we treat it. It's actually, it's a very large operation. We have to filter contaminants out of the debris that comes through the sewer system, so people will flush things they shouldn't. That ends up at the sewer. We'll get toys, and handbags, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then we will allow it to, we'll take out the fat, like people will flush oil and grease down the sewer system. We skim that off the top, and then we take grit out like coffee grinds, and then we have to treat it with bacteria and then with chemicals. So it's a very long process, but often underappreciated because people don't talk about things that happen in the bathroom. They don't talk about what goes down the toilet.
What goes in the bathroom stays in the bathroom.
Yeah. So no, and many of the men and women who work in our wastewater treatment plants have a very thankless job a lot of time. It's smelly, difficult, dirty work, and it's so important for public health that people often just don't appreciate it for what it is. It was one of the most amazing advances of our industrialization, that we could take care of human waste to ensure that it didn't spread disease and harm the environment. So it's a big deal.
That sounds really fascinating.
It is. It's cool.
Is there a special number they would have to call to do a tour?
Well, they can always call me. It's 937-781-2532. You can ask for Brianna. Or you can go online to our website. We have information about education and tours there, as well as who to contact for outreach. And that's www.mcohio.org/water. And they can find information there as well.
That really sounds fascinating. I think I know I had, a different idea about where the water comes from and what's done with it, till I started talking to you.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand it. And it's easy for people to see the service of electricity and to feel the pain when it's gone, because it goes out more frequently because of storms and it's above ground. Water and sewer is below ground, and people often, because their service is so consistent and so reliable, don't appreciate it for what it is. And another thing to consider too is the infrastructure for our water and sewer system is aging faster than we're replacing it. So a lot of the system was put in the 1960s. Basically, it was paid for by our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and the bill is going to be coming due for infrastructure again. And we have to get ready to reinvest in our system before it starts to fail more frequently. And people will be missing out on that frequent, reliable water and sewer service. So, it's a challenge to make sure that we invest in our system and that we provide a reliable and affordable service to everyone.
Well, since you mentioned payment, what will that come like in a show up on a ballot, or how would that?
Well, our rates are set by the Board of County Commissioners, and any rate changes have to be approved by them, and there's often a period for public comment and hearings and things like that. So yeah, that's something that is a very public and open process. It's not typically a ballot measure, though. Unlike a levy, this is what's called an enterprise fund. So we charge for the service, and that charge is only used for water and sewer service payments and infrastructure maintenance. We don't take anything from taxes or anything like that. So the rates that are set are to provide for the service itself. Like I said, we're a public service. We don't really want to have a big profit. We want to operate even. We want to have a surplus to make sure that if anything emergency happened, we'd have funds to cover it. But we don't want to be making a profit off of our customers. We want to be a public servant. And that's what water and sewer services are.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, like I said, though, people sometimes, as I said, take for granted the cost of the service. So when you think about how much people pay for their cell phones now, it's more than their water bill, right? Or their electricity, it's more than their water bill. And our water is probably one of the most important, vital services that we pay for. Yet we often don't think about it because we have not really paid for the infrastructure the way that our grandparents or great-grandparents did.
Right. That's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
I think educationally, you're talking about the stem cells. I'm back up here a minute, and the students that come in and see the chem lab that you have and things like that.
Yeah, the environmental laboratory. Yeah.
That sounds pretty interesting, even for somebody older.
Well, we do tours with senior centers. We also do it with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So their lab and technicians will actually come down to tour our lab as well. We tailor our presentations or the tours for people's age and experience. So for young kids, we might take them on a slightly abbreviated tour, and maybe it'll be more general kind of information. Whereas somebody who's might be a high school student from a STEM school, they would take them on a much more in-depth tour with more technical information, things like that. We also have an environmental learning center. So we do solid waste and recycling. I know that's not what we're talking about today, but that is part of what our department does. We have those services as well. And we have a transfer station, so all the trash that's collected by private haulers and companies comes to our transfer station and then goes to landfill, and that's how it gets transferred away from your home and your curb when you leave your trash out. And at that site, that transfer station, we have what's called an environmental learning center. And it teaches people about the water, the sewer, the trash, recycling, even some energy stuff about conservation and green technology. It's a very cool learning center. It has exhibits and educational exhibits. It's free and open to the public. We work with teachers to bring schools in, and we also provide transportation reimbursement to schools who may not have the funding to get their students to tours and to field trips like other schools do. So we want to make sure that everybody has access. And so that's really cool as well. That's over there in Moraine, Ohio. And like I said, if you've got a school or you're a teacher and you want to hear more about it, you can always contact us and get some more information online as well.
That sounds great. I don't think that gets advertised enough.
Well, you know, there's as a public institution, we don't want to be seen to be spending a ton of money on advertising. So we do our best to get word out by word of mouth or through the media, or if we have a Twitter account as well, we promote it there. But we have an education program specialist whose sole job is to promote, the center and other educational programs we have, and to make sure that we get the people in who can learn more about it.
Okay, one other group of folks that the nonprofit organizations that have youth, or even themselves, can they also? Is there an issue with them coming? Or
we're
anybody?
Free and open to the public. We also offer. We even offer for like businesses, small businesses around here too. They want to host little luncheons there, or if they want to have a tour for, like, say they work in the environmental industry, if they want to do a tour and have it as a meeting place, we're very open to like using our facilities for the public, from businesses and nonprofits to schools and individuals.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we do our best. We really do. We have a lot of really dedicated, fantastic employees who really care about the impact they have on the community and work very hard at that. So I'm very proud to be a part of that.
Well, I've learned a lot today, and it's quite interesting. I work with a youth group, and maybe we'll bring them out and
love it.
Do a lunch out there, and then let them see what goes on and talk about the environmental issues.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. We have a lot of schools come in, and then they'll bring like brown bag their lunch and stuff like that and bring it, and then they'll go do the tour of the learning center. So it's a lot of fun. And like I said, it's free. You can't beat that. It's free education, and it's a good experience. And a lot of students are just really surprised by the amount of waste that we throw away too. You get to actually look out over the transfer station through a viewing corridor and see what goes on with the trash and all the big trucks and things like that too. Little kids love the trucks. You can hardly pull them away from the viewing window. So yeah, it's a lot of fun for anybody of any age. It was designed so that it could be appealing to children as well as adults.
Well, that sounds like something I'm going to have to investigate doing. Do they just do Monday through Friday, or do they do weekends, or what?
It depends. I mean, we like I said, we have program specialists, and as long as it doesn't conflict with other things on their schedule, they'll sometimes work with people to do after-hours tours, like 7 p.m. or maybe early morning tours, or like a weekend. Not frequently, but they'll do it. So I mean, if that's the only time you can get people out, then they'll work with you.
Okay. You hear that out there, y'all? You can join her in her group 7 days a week, if schedule allows and the traffic allows.
Yep.
Well, I certainly enjoyed the time talking to you, and I found out things that, as you said, didn't think about, and found out things that I think everybody out there is a little bit more educated on what this part of the environment, how it works, and how things go. And I'm sure I'll have 1,000 other questions. Maybe we'll have you back and have your counterpart here from the city of Dayton.
Yeah.
So you can do a tag team.
I'll pass it off to he or she more frequently.
Right.
So they have the technical expertise for the water treatment itself from the drinking water, so that it would be nice to have their perspective as well. The distribution system, we do some testing, but it's definitely not as complex or as in-depth as what they do, and they do a good job. They also pre-soften their water too, so people out there who have water softeners might be able to ditch that cost, you know. So because we're not worrying about it, because
Right.
we do pre-soften the water here in Montgomery County, which is nice. It's a very nice surface. Keeps that white buildup from happening on all of your appliances.
Oh, okay. That's great. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off for now, but we want you to give your number again so
course.
that anybody can call you.
Of course. So if you want to get a hold of me for education or outreach opportunities, the number is 937-781-2532. If you'd like to report a water quality concern, though, or if you have an emergency like a water main break or a sewer backup, our 24-hour dispatch line, that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is 937-781-2688.
Well, thank you very much, Brianna, for being here,
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
and I've enjoyed it too. So we hope to see you again.
I hope to have
and
back, yeah.
We're going to work on that.
Great.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And I want to say goodbye to everybody. We've had a great time, at least I have. Learned something new. You're never too old to learn. And we're going to try and get Brianna back again and get somebody from the city also in and have another talk.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Okay.
More questions.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being with us, and we'll be back again sometime next month. And so we'll have our annual Christmas party then. So the NAACP will be at the Northwest Priority Board Center, and we'll be meeting there on the 19th for our annual Christmas party. So everybody come out and join us.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, that's right. I'm full still from Turkey Day.
Yeah,
So-
I'm done with turkey for a while.
So thanks everybody, and thanks everybody in the media room there. And we've had a great year with you guys, and so hope to see you back again next year.
Thanks, Carolyn.